All right, good morning again. Today's lesson is 6-3, and it's talking about percentages that are greater than 100 or less than 1%. All right, so sometimes you might hear something said that, for example, in the book it says you can get 110% of 1 day's recommended dietary allowances of vitamin C by eating 1/2 of a grapefruit every day. So they said you could get 110%. That's more than 100%. So of your recommended vitamin C. Okay. So what we're actually saying is that you can get the whole thing that you are supposed to get, the whole 100% allowance plus an extra 10%. That would be 110%. When we're talking about percentages, something that's a whole is 100%. If you have 100% of your schoolwork done, it means you have all of it done. If you have got 100% on your quiz, it means you got them all correct. So 100% represents all or a whole. So if you have a number or percent that's more than 100%, then you're talking, it's going to be if you want to change that into a fraction, you're going to have a mixed number because you have more than one whole. Okay? So in the example they gave, they said it was 110%. So really what they're saying, let me switch screens. If they say they have 110%, what they're saying is, well, 100% is more than 100%. So our 100 is represented by one whole, right? And what do you have left over after if you were to subtract 110 minus 100, you would have that 10% left over, right? And that can be represented as 0.10. Or, a little easier, remember how we go from a percent to a decimal? You have your decimal point at the end of the number, and you move it 2 places to the left. See? 1.10. All right. So if I want to put this decimal into a fraction, then I can say 1. It's going to be a mixed fraction, right? And 10 over 100th, but we need to simplify that. Right? Both have zeros at the end. So it really equals 1 1/10, which you can see that here. You can see that here. Okay, what if I had 200? I said something was 235%. Oops, 235%. So what is that? Change that to a fraction or a mixed number. Well, you just simply get your decimal point at the end there, move it 2 places to the left, and then you should have 2.35, and that equals, remember this is 2 and 35, how do we say that? 100ths. So 2 and 35 100ths. Okay, I need to simplify this fraction here. Looks like one has a 5 at the end and one has a 0, so that tells me that they are both divisible by 5. So 35 divided by 5 is, what did I just say, 7? And 100 divided by 5 is 20. So you would come up with 2 and 7/20. If you want to check your work and make sure you have it reduced correctly, you can do your checking by saying 2 wholes times the denominator, 20, is 40, plus 7 is 47. Divide that by 20, and you come back up with that. Try it on your calculator. All right, let's try another one. Let's say I said something was 360%. And I wanted to change that into a fraction. Okay, put your decimal point at the end. Move it 2 places to the left. So my decimal point decimal is 3 and 60/100ths. So that's 3 and 60/100ths. And go ahead and take off a 0 at the end of each. Now I have 6/10ths, but that can be simplified too. All right, 6 and 10 are both in the 2's family. So let's go ahead and divide that by 2. Looky there. Okay, so that's how you take a percentage that's more than 100% and you change it into a fraction. But it's mixed numbers, it's fractions, but you're going to have a whole number, or you're going to have a whole number and a fraction, okay? Because it's more than the whole, more than 100%. Okay, now what about if I have a percent that is less than 100? Let's say it's 0.7%. That's less than 1%. It's not even on the radar, basically. It's 0.7%. Not very much at all. How do I go from this kind of percentage and put that into a decimal? Okay, we're not going to put, or a fraction. Yes, how do we put that into a decimal and then a fraction? Same way. You're going to take your decimal point, which is already there, move it over 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So we have 0.007. Now, we have to kind of remember our place values when we're dealing with these decimals. Okay, remember you have your tenths, hundredths, thousandths place, right? Always have the ths at the end. Okay, so this is really 7/1000ths. And there's your fraction. All right, let's try another one. Let's say 0.36%. Oh, that one's an easy one. No, okay, it's the same way. Never mind. All right, so you're going to take your decimal point, move it 2 places over to the left, and we should have 0.0036. Well, this is actually a little trickier. All right, so we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So you have 36 10,000ths. Okay, and then you can simplify that. They both end in a even number. So let's go ahead and simplify that. 36 divided by 2 is what? 18. 10,000 divided by 2 would be 5. Oops. And then it's 3 zeros. It looks like I can reduce it again. Look at that. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. 5,000, excuse me. 5,000 divided by 2. There we are. And that cannot go any lower. All right. Let's try one more. That's less than 1%. How about 0.4%? Okay, move your decimal point over 2 places to the left, and we should have 0.004. Okay, and that equals, we're going to put it down here since I got that one in the way. All right, so really we have a tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So it's 4 thousandths that can be reduced. Let's divide it by 4. let's see. So that would be, oops, get my hand in the way here. Right? And that's reduced. All right. So that is how you work with percentages that are greater than 100 or less than 1%. All right, let's take a look at quick check number 1. On page 284, it says, write 125% as a decimal and a fraction. Okay, so we have, let's go back to my little screen. You have 125%, sloppy. Change that into a decimal. Decimal point goes at the end. Move it over 2 places to the left. I have 1 and 25 1/100ths. So write that as a mixed fraction, 1 and 25 1/100ths, and simplify. Okay, so what is 25 1/100ths? If we simplified that, it would be 1/4. So my final answer is 1 and 1/4. Okay. Let's try quick check number 2. Write 0.35% as a decimal and a fraction. So again, we start with our decimal point, move it 2 places to the left, 0.0035, and we're going to change that into a fraction. So we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. Again, we can reduce this, simplify it, because there's a 5 and a 0 at the end, so they can both be divided by 5. We have 7 and 2,000. Okay? And that cannot be reduced anymore. So that's your answer. All right, let's take a look at quick check number 3. If you start with a mixed number, then how do you get that to be a decimal and then a percent? Okay, so this is the next thing we're going to learn. So in quick check number 3, let's say they're saying you ran 2 4/5 times the distance you ran the day before. So you know the day before was 100%, and now you are doing more than what you did yesterday. So know in your mind that this number is going to be larger than 100. Okay? So we're going to write this as a decimal first. So let's go ahead and start here. We have 2 wholes, so that's written like that. And 4/5. Go ahead and divide that. 4 divided by 5, because as a couple days ago when we learned how to take a fraction and make it into a decimal, we just needed to divide our top number by the denominator. So what did you come up with? You should have come up with 0.8. So we have 2 from here, 2, and the 4/5 was 8.8. Okay, so we have 2.8. That is our decimal, but now we need to put it into a percent. So remember, if we're going from a decimal to a percent, we just move the decimal point 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Okay, so it equals 280%. Remember, I said that was good. We knew it was going to be more than 100 because the first day you ran was the 100%, and then you ran 2 4/5 more above. All right. So you have 280%. I want you to look at quick check number 4. Okay, this one, I think I'll keep it down here. All right, so they're talking about the government, House of Representatives. And the first one is talking about West Virginia, but they give you some information up there that we need for quick check number 4. They said that there are 432 other representatives, and West Virginia had 3. So if you add those two numbers together, you should come up with 435. That is the total amount of members in that House of Representatives. So if you have that as your total number, then and Idaho has 2 members, then what percent is Idaho? Okay, so let's go back to our screen. So if we have Idaho has 2 members out of the 435, right? There's our ratio. That's also our fraction, right? We can write a ratio as a fraction, right? 2, oops, out of 435, right? Let's make that into our decimal. Go ahead and divide that. 2 divided by 435, and you should come up with a rather interesting number. Here we go. Ready? Should come up with 0.0045977, right? Okay, and we're just going to, because percentages are normally just in the hundredths place, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to move our decimal point over 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Okay. So, oops. Now, this is the number that's in the hundredths. That number is going to be in the hundredths place. But notice the 9 is large enough to change the 5 to a 6. So we're just going to round it up. Okay? And that's our answer. 0.46%. Not a full percent even, right? And that makes sense because if you only have 2 people out of 435, it's not going to be a large percent. All right, so it is only 0.46%. Okay? All right, so that's the examples for today. Your homework is page 286, numbers 1 through 5. You do not need to do number 6 and number 7. Okay? Number 1 through 5, put your answers on the assignment page. Please do not do an attachment. It's just easier for me if I have it right there. Okay? Alrighty. See you later.